This video is to show you how to use the CloudExtend when uploading a new sales order. So I'm going to start this video off by showing you what type of fields you would need to add into a sales order template. But as a brand new user, you're going to see these two options. So if you select search and download or create new records, both of those options will give you the steps of selecting a record type. So in this case, it's going to be the sales order. Create results table, and that is to associate the fields that you would need to add and create the sales order template. Then the last step is going to be loading the template onto a worksheet. So because I already pre-created a template, I'm going to go and select this start with a template and select create new records with a template. And it's going to bring me to my list of templates. So here I'm actually going to sort this to last edit. And I see that I have my sales order template here. So I'm going to edit this template. So now when you edit your template, you're going to go into this list of checkboxes for all of the fields available for your sales order record type. So for me, I already added some fields. So if I type ahead, you can see that I've added tran date and tran ID. So as long as you go through this checklist of fields that you would need to add, I would recommend adding all of the mandatory fields on your sales order form. And once you have added all of those mandatory fields and relevant fields that you would need to, in order for you to create a sales order, you can click on Add Fields. And to begin things off right here, this is the template editor. So if you want to rearrange your fields, you do have the ability to drag and drop and rearrange it based off of the cursor. But for the first field, you can see that there is the internal ID. So the internal ID is always going to be embedded for all of your templates. So when you do create your template, you do not need to search for the internal ID. This is always automatically embedded when you create your template. So the tran date is going to be in reference to the date field inside of your sales order form. The tran ID is in reference to the sales order number. And then the entity is going to be the customer field inside of your sales order form. So now coming down to the sublist and the item level, you can see that there's the standard fields within the item level. So that's going to be the item field. There's also the quantity and also the price and rate. So now that everything looks in order, I'm going to click on continue, click on yes. And you can see that there's an option for you to rename your template or name your template, as well as add a description to this template to let you know what this template entails, so that you have selected the correct template for your operation. So now that you have all of the name and the description, I'm going to click on save and enter data. And now moving forward, the template saved successfully onto your session, so that if you want to load the template onto a worksheet, as well as another workbook, you have the ability to do so. So now that I have the template loaded here, for demo purposes, I already have a sales order value uploaded or demonstration uploaded onto another tab right here. So if I go into my sales orders tab, let me explain to you what I filled out here. So I filled out entity, which is Austin Tesla. So if I were to go into the cell operation at the bottom right here and select into it, you do have the ability to select the pick list for that particular field column. You can also type ahead too. So if you want to type ahead, say Big 5 is going to be another customer that you're working with, you can see that it autofills the value for you. But for here, I'm going to change this back to Austin Tesla. And then now for the item, that's the same. You can add in the items by typing ahead or copy and paste and plug it into the item column field. So the quantity, you would just embed that in there with the number that you want to add for each of the quantity of items. And then the price field is actually a price level that you would add in there. So if you want to do a custom price level, you would just need to do a double bracket with a -1 and close it off with another double brackets. So once you have that in there for the price level, just repeat it throughout the rows. And then the rate will basically times the quantity, which will equal your amount for that particular item. So now that we have the entity, which is repeated to match the number of line IDs that I have in the line level, or the item level of the sales order, I'm ready to upload back into NetSuite. So now if I go into uploads on the right-hand side, I select upload records. And in just a sec, you're going to see that it's going to read the whole table. So it's going to read cell A3 to J47. So once it reads the whole table, if everything is correct and ready, it's going to return the internal ID back in column B here in green. And once the internal ID returns back in green, I can use that to refresh and reload and return the transaction date and tran ID. And these two fields are basically system generated. So that's where we will wait until the record is completed in order to return that data. All right, as you can see, it created the sales order. And if I were to take a look at the number count, it's roughly about 45 rows. So the upload was successful. Now, if I want to reload the transaction date and transaction ID, I'm just going to go to reload records and do a reload records. And in just a second, you're going to see the transaction date and tran ID return back in column C and column D. All right, so once that is completed and returned back, I'm going to select a tran ID and do a global search inside of NetSuite to ensure that the sales order was successfully uploaded into NetSuite. Okay, so now we're in NetSuite. I'm going to search for it. And once I plug that transaction ID number, you can see it returns that sales order that we have uploaded. And once I've selected that result, you can see that it returned the information that I have the correct transaction date. The tran ID is right there. If I go down to the item level, you can see that all of the items I've uploaded for the sales order and all of the corresponding quantity and the rate and the return amount based off of the custom price level. And if you want to confirm and dive a little further, you could actually go into the system notes to ensure that this was uploaded successfully through CloudExtend and through SOAP Web Services. So if you want to look at the system notes, we're just going to go under the History tab and go into System Notes right below it. And as you can see, it'll let you know who has set the operation or the upload, as well as under what context. So this is going to be a SOAP Web Services. And it will tell you what type of operation. So in this case, this was a create and also a set for all of these fields right here to add in all of the new values based off of the upload from CloudExtend. This concludes our video on how to use CloudExtend when uploading a new sales order. If you need further support, please visit our support site at support.cloudextend.io.